Hi, marketers. This is Dots, and welcome to the Marketing Leadership Podcast. With me here is Anders Hjorth, retail media consultant at EPAM Systems. We will discuss the impact of retail media on D2C omnichannel marketing strategies. I know you guys are ready to do this, so let's get on. Anders, welcome. How are you doing?
I'm feeling great, Daz. Thanks for having me.
No worries at all. You want to tell us a bit about yourself, your background and role? How did you come to fall in love with the concept of retail media?
Retail media is not my first love. I, I've ha-
You've had what have them?
I've had a few. I've had a few. No, I fell into I'm Danish, and I've most of my career I've lived in France, and I kind of fell into the internet when I was young. Right? So I don't know if you see the parallel. There's this very famous comic book, the Asterix, right, which is this little warrior, and there's his big friend who fell into the big bowl of magic potion when he was a kid. So we kind of use that to tell I fell into the bowl of internet when I was young. Yeah. I'm kind of I've got it in me. I got the power of the magic potion of internet of the internet virus. Let's call it that. So I fell into it very early. Actually, so I studied business management, economics, languages, and during my studies, the internet came around, and it was it was a bit of a revelation for me because it was combining things that I liked, like computers and stuff, and with marketing. And then it had this amazing thing. It had this amazing potential to change the world. I think when you're young and you're seeing something that suddenly makes sense, and maybe you can make a difference, maybe there's something that can change the world. I think a lot of people have this with AI today. Wow, it's going to change it all. And that was what I felt with the internet at that time. So I kind of fell into that very early on and started actually doing, the first thing you do when you're doing marketing on the internet, which is SEO. That was the very first thing that was out there, and then being a very curious guy and wanting to do new stuff, I very quickly early on fell into paid search. So I was one of the first SEOs in France and to a certain extent in Europe. I was very connected to the US, and there was some discussion forums where everything happened, uh, where everything was shared, and you had these new search engines. It was pre-Google, yeah. Um, and then when paid search came along, arrived, I was one of the first paid search guys. So actually, technically speaking, was the first certified paid search marketer in France, yeah, which is the day they launched the certification. I was sitting there and I said, "Hey, why not go for it?" And then went on to pretty much every single kind of marketing channel on the internet. So affiliate marketing, content marketing, social media marketing, content marketing, programmatic marketing. And then what happens in 2018? I'm like looking for what's going on the internet. I was looking for digital marketing trends, and I see this thing coming out called Amazon ads. And I was like, oh, okay, here's something for me to look into. And I ended up, so at that time I had sold my latest agency. It had been acquired. It ended up being acquired by Accenture Interactive, and I got the chance to leave the company. And I was like, well, okay, what do I do now? I do what I like, which is research digital marketing.
True money.
Well, no, yes, of course you do. I mean, the first thing you do is you do crazy travels, and you pay off some of your debts, and you invest some, right? So I think that I did that twice actually when selling companies. And then I said, okay, what do I want to do? And I had time. So I was like, okay, I want to research digital marketing trends. And so I wrote a couple of reports, and then I ended up, discovered this thing, which was, Amazon ads, Amazon marketing, retail media. And I wrote a report about Amazon marketing, and I ended up working for an Amazon agency for 2 years, setting up the DSP seat. I saw Amazon Marketing Cloud when it arrived, which is the clean your own the data, fantastic solution. It was covering a big need there. It was because it was ridiculous what they did before. And then when Amazon Marketing Cloud, it's just amazing. All right. So I went through that and then wanted to look into retail media beyond Amazon, which is like, okay, so Amazon's a big chunk and then there's all the rest. And that's where I am now, actually. So I wrote a report about that retail media, state of retail media in Europe. I was I was quite early on that wave. There was a lot of reports after that. Right early on that wave of saying, what is the state of retail media? What's and looking at Europe and looking at outside of Amazon was quite unique at that time. So did that, and then since then I've worked in retail media outside of Amazon, sort of on the retailer side, and right now working for EPAM, a very, very large global IT development, data engineering, digital platform design company that also has this consulting branch, and we're working on some of the biggest worldwide retailers building retail media platforms, integrating retail media platforms, and of course, on the consulting side, what we're doing is we're doing roadmaps, we're doing maturity assessments, we're doing the business case, and so classic consulting, and I love it. So that's kind of what I do, where I am right now, if you like.
No, it's a very interesting story. I just moved out from Nigeria into Canada 4 years ago, and of course, I'm still a very bona fide Nigerian. I love Nigeria with all my heart. But at that time, Nigeria, and I think now Nigeria is often like an emerging market when it comes to like marketing stuff. So at that time, and I don't know if it's still the case now, Amazon marketing was not in Nigeria. And I wanted to do things like that. There were a few other things like that. And exactly, right. And so I guess that was, anyway, I mean, upon moving here and I was able to get access. So I've literally been using Amazon ads maybe 3.5 years ago. And, I've learned a lot. I've spoken to other Amazon experts as well. So it's really, really fun. But it just, I guess, how do I put it? It's, you have a lot of grace when you are exposed to this kind of technologies. And in your case, the retail media, we will be exploring more about that. But before then, I want to touch on your experience on the search side of things. By the way, if you're listening, Anders just got awarded by LinkedIn as the top online marketing voice. Woo! So congratulations on that.
It only lasts for 2 months, though. It's like a 60 days badge, yeah. And you writing all these comments on collaborative articles to stay out there. I mean, well, I have the badge, yeah.
As long as they are useful, so that's all. That's the point. But yeah, it's how do I put it? The search side, search marketing, that experience. Do you think search is great for direct to consumer? I often feel search is like, except if I'm searching for like a plumber, what is search good for in D2C? Paid search.
It's the foundation. So it's funny because when I talked about my journey, I started out in SEO and then paid search. That's the foundation of a lot of digital marketing. Whenever you start building something, and I suppose that you have the same things on your mind, you need to think about how is that going to be visible on the internet organically over time. When I'm become very famous and people search for me, how are they going to find me 5 years from now? And so you got to have those things in place. That's the SEO part. And then the paid search part, which I started very early, is interesting because it became pretty much the DNA of paid media on the internet. Because paid search came up with the show. Paid social came after, right? So paid social was an interesting evolution. So, but let's go back to the paid search side because it came up with the bidding model, and you have the bidding model in paid social as well. But it came up with the bidding auction model, right? It came up with the real time. It also fed into the equation something, the quality score, something about how good is this advertising. And those ingredients, you find them in pretty much every single area of paid media today. So paid search kind of built the DNA of what paid media looks like. Yeah, but you're totally right. Paid social came with something else because it came with the audience targeting, and it sort of started this whole programmatic way of saying you can reach anybody anywhere on the basis of their interests, what they liked, or what profile they have. So so it's been sort of layers that, and I feel very fortunate that I've worked in all of these different areas, because you can kind of see the whole system. Doesn't necessarily give you any clearer view of things because it's all mixed up and it's not easy. But at least I've seen the way it works, and I've had my hands in the systems, and it gives you sort of you kind of you know what's out there, right? And if if you do the fast forward to retail media, I think the fascinating thing about retail media is that it is a new type of advertising, and at the same time, it has some of the highest expectations that we've ever had in digital marketing, because we expect to see incrementality. We expect to see brand strengthening. We expect to see measurable ROAS. We expect it all. And at the same time, it is 3 or 4 or 5 different types of technical platforms that are interwoven. And then we want to build a story for the end user so that it all makes sense. Yeah. Oh my God. It's so challenging. But that's also, I think that's my attraction to this sort of newest area of digital marketing today.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm just curious. You seem to have a lot of experience in the EU space, and you have a lot of experience also in North America and so on. So basically, you have experience in both time zones. We're talking about time zones, off the mic.
Yeah.
Do you think retail media, that whole concept, that whole space, the way it works, the way it runs, do you think it works differently in those regions? I mean, I know privacy is taken a bit differently in the EU compared to how it's taken in the US. And sometimes people use, data enrichment apps to get people's information in the US, but you can never try that in the EU. So,
if you try out,
don't try it if you don't want to go to jail. So, but yeah, do they work differently? Does that whole media space, is there something that people should pay attention to? And I'm asking because there is a concept I'm being personally obsessed with, and that's the concept of international marketing strategies, which says that everything should be done differently, because obviously people are different, communities are different, regions are different, right? Yeah. So, but is it different? Do you want to explain to that?
Yeah. So Amazon and McDonald's and Burger King are all the same. Yeah. All over the world, pretty much. Yeah. They're trying to standardize that thing now. So, to be serious, the technologies that are running are the same. The systems that are in place are the same. What's different is people on one hand, and then on the other hand, what's different is market sizes. And so what has always happened in digital marketing, digital advertising, is that the US, North American markets are massive in size, and compared to Europe or rest of world are very homogeneous. So they're very similar. It's the same language. I mean, the data is very similar. It's not like even the technical systems underlying this are very similar. Whereas in Europe, you move from one country to the next, you can be on a different technical system, right? So even the way information flows can sometimes have a footprint of policy, of geopolitical pressures, or whatever. So there are differences in the way it pans out. To take an example, So I talked about search and keywords earlier, right? So
Yep.
in the US, you would have a category keyword would be unreachable with the budget that any normal advertiser would have. Whereas in Europe, in one market, it could be something you could do. So in the US, you would have a strategy where you'd go down to the shoulder keywords, right? A couple of keywords get put together, and you would have a very strong long tail. Whereas in Europe, you may not have that strong long tail, basically because there aren't so many searches per country. But then you have 10 different countries. So the way you actually build campaigns is often different. The way people behave is often different. And then you have this volume equation, which changes the way the auctions work. So whereas the systems technically are aiming to be the same, the reality of actually managing these systems
Execution.
very different. Yeah, can be very different, right? So and this is so I'm taking the example of paid search, but this is, I mean, you have elements of paid search in retail media as well, right? You've got the keyword targeting and context and this kind of thing. Now, the other thing that then plays in retail media is that you have, a huge market share of Amazon in the markets where Amazon is present, like coming to Nigeria soon. You know that, yeah? It's next on the list in Africa. Now they've just opened it South Africa, and next it's going to be Nigeria.
Please, they need to do that.
Which is a massive market, right? So that's going to be interesting. But even if you take Amazon, they're taking the easier path, right? They're going to English-speaking countries for us, right? Because that it takes less work, and then they're building out the distribution, and afterwards they can think about how to. But in Europe, you'll have so the retail media networks that are outside of Amazon, suddenly they will have a size which is very small. So we have this structure of, so you've got a few local competitors of Amazon, like in France it would be Cdiscount, in the Netherlands it would be BOL, in Poland it will be Allegro, and so you have these local players that are not international. You have a few sometimes, Zalando, which is in international countries and virtually specialized. But other than that, you have sort of niche players, right? And they have, so the challenge here is that they have very limited inventory. Okay. Now, when you have, and when you have limited inventory, the way advertisers need to act is different, right? So they're not going to be laser targeting anymore. They're going to say, okay, what am I interested in this network? I'm interested in their positioning, even with the brand fit. And then I'm going to say, according to my strategy, maybe in the month of November, I want to take that network. So you're in a totally different game, strategy-wise, than you will be on Amazon and in a bigger market where you will be laser targeting, you're optimizing all the time, and you will be, micromanaging. So I think that's the big difference from North America to Europe. I think that's the big difference.
I really love the way you broke them down. But I will sum it up in the tech is same, but the nuances around it are different, and the inventory is different as well. So that's a very, very good one to note.
You talked about privacy, and I didn't, and and just realized, and so in the US you have the CCPA in California, right, which going the same direction as GDPR. I would expect, but is that me being European? I don't know, but I would expect the whole world to be going in the direction of GDPR for the simple fact that it is the highest standard, and that if you want to do business in Europe, you'll have to align with that standard anyway. So yeah, exactly. And you don't know who's going to come to your website. So I would expect that to be sort of driving everybody in the same direction. I don't think it plays a big role in how these networks are actually working. So Amazon will be going in the direction of GDPR. So okay, at the same time, you have this huge change in the Nordics where Facebook is now, giving you the option.
Can't remember the amount now, but yeah.
Do you want to pay for it or do you want ads? Which is a first. I mean, and just go, oh, I was going to say that's going to break Facebook, but you didn't hear me say that. At least, I think in the market's way, I think it's a bad idea. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think the Elon Musk's strategy of trying to have pay users pay either. I don't think that's going to work. But you never know in this world.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very complex space, right?
It is. Yeah.
It's a very big problem as well. So that makes a lot of sense. But I want to get into we've been discussing doom and gloom for some time now. It's now time to get to the exciting part of the episode. And that is going into the state of retail media EU report. I love reports. I have not worked in any of the consulting organizations, but as a strategist, you need reports like this, to do market research and so on. But before then, we're going to be back for a few seconds from our sponsor. And when we come back, we will continue with the episode. Guys, stay tuned. It's the Marketing Leadership Podcast. Welcome back, guys. And if you are watching, you'll probably see that the retail media gods have answered my prayer and the light is coming on me. Okay. Anders, very exciting topic, the state of the media EU report. And you showed a lot of great insights on how the industry is innovating. Even the free version in itself, I can package that and sell it. It's so detailed. So thank you so much for that. But there was something that caught my idea, and that's the 5 steps to retail media success. Can you tell our listeners what those are and why it backs now?
So when we built this report, we wanted to go out and look at countries. We wanted to look at retail media networks. We wanted to look at how these things evolve, what's going on, and then we wanted to have this focus on brands, right? So what you're asking is, it's the 5 steps to retail media success for brands, right? And now, when you talk about brands, most of the time, what you have to remember is that they're also the suppliers of the retailer that has the retail media network, right? So you're sort of in a setting where a brand is trying to control its exposure in a closed area where they don't know what's happening there. They're selling in and they're looking at, how much is sold at the end of the month, but they don't really know what's going on inside. And I think, so one of the first things that brands are interested in is understanding, because they're too far away from the consumer, from the end users. They want to understand what's going on. But in order to go there, in order to build a business targeting retail media, one of the first challenges that most of these brands actually have is that it is not the same. It's not the same as traditional media. It is not the same as what they're doing on the commerce side, right? So so they already have a relationship with these retailers, a supplier relationship. And now suddenly it's a different part of the organization maybe that wants to do something else, right? So the very first thing to figure out is, where does this sit? Is it with the people that are already dealing with the retailer? Is it with the communications department? Is it with the marketing department? Is it with sales? Where does it sit, right? And this may sound stupid, but that is actually one of the biggest challenges to get it right? And in the report we talked with some for the report we talked with some of the brands, and the funny thing is that they were all organized in different manners. So one of the organizations we talked with had a specific business unit that was doing only Amazon. And the thing is, that was very efficient and you could measure, outcome, etc. But then it didn't really allow them to combine that with commerce and combine that with smaller networks. So the whole communication and branding and trade marketing relationship wasn't there. So it's not so easy to find out how you want to do this. But anyway, depending on how you're organized already, you need to figure out where it sits, and then you need to empower somebody to actually run this. Yeah, so that's the very first step there. The next step is to build what I call the go-to-market mix. Go-to-market mix is so this is a big learning on Amazon, where basically you don't just take your entire product catalog and put it on Amazon. Doesn't make sense at all. You need to figure out what products suit that specific marketplace, and then you need to look at which other marketplace you want to be on from a audience perspective, from a brand fit perspective, from a vertical perspective, and say, okay, I want this marketplace, this marketplace, this marketplace. And then I want to figure out which products do I put there. And then the last element you want to put in there is, okay, what's my pricing strategy? What's my pricing and promotion strategy on these? You probably don't change the prices too much. You just keep that pretty clear. Otherwise, you're gonna get penalties. With Amazon, yes, go. Yeah, anywhere. Yeah, they're gonna hit on you. But you want to figure out what your sort of end price, how much promotion can you put in there, how much can you actually push. So that's your go-to-marketing mix that you want to build. And then something quite important after that is you're building. So this is typically working with a product feed. So you need to build that product feed. You need to look at each of these marketplaces where you want to be, and you need to understand what are the digital assets that I need to perform there. And you want to centralize these and have them sort of maybe you want to set up a digital asset management tool or a product information management tool, because you want to be able to update these in all of the places where you put them at the same time. So there's a bit of typical opposition as well. Yeah. Get that right and you will be flexible. Get it wrong and you will be very slow to react and not up to date most of the time. So if I call it lining up your digital assets. And after that, you're kind of ready to get going, but you need to make sure that you can actually connect back that data, the measurement points. I call them the data dots. Make you hack the data dots to your into your dashboard so that you can measure, how you're doing, where you're going. And finally, the final point, and which is a key one as well, is you need to accelerate this with advertising. Because if you're not putting advertising into these systems, well, you're part of the bottom of the catalog. You won't see much. You won't be able to test. You won't be visible enough. And if you're doing Amazon, you won't even go anywhere if you don't put advertising. No, it's part of the equation. So, and that's the fifth point, right? So, and I think with those 5 points, if you got them right, you can get going. That doesn't mean that you've won, because it's the long and hard journey, but you can get going in a decent way.
I love all you've described. I love the fact that I hear someone say there is a go-to-market strategy for D2C. If you go into the web today, whenever you hear go-to-market, it's all about B2B. I don't know why they decided to monopolize that, but actually go-to-market in D2C has been existing for a much longer time. People weren't just calling it that. But the fact that you've put this into a 5-step process and that people can follow, because frameworks are just fun, it's great. And I really appreciate that. As we were speaking now, I just remember one of my clients, they are into the GPS tracking space in Canada, and I think we are good. We followed everything that you just, so that's good. So that makes sense. But there are some people that may be doing the wrong thing. So I know that there are some e-commerce marketing strategies that are slowly becoming obsolete based on the retail media space. Are there any 2 or 3 that jump to mind that you think, based on what you're seeing, you guys are writing the reports, stop doing this. It's not going to work for you anymore. And I'm saying 3 because, it depends on what works for who. This is not a silver bullet podcast, but your advice will still be needed.
All right. So first of all, I really like the question. So when you use the word obsolete, this is something I very often talk about, things being obsolete in the digital world. Because basically things change, and what was right yesterday is not necessarily right today, and what is right today is not necessarily right tomorrow. Now, that being said, it's very dangerous to pull out one point and say this is wrong or this is wrong. There are things that you need to do, right? That you need to follow the best practice as much as you can. I think there are strategies that worked. I don't know how many years this was ago, but when a big brand came on a marketplace like Amazon, it would naturally rank, it would naturally sell, it would naturally function. This is not the case anymore. So if you think, if you think that you have your brand and that the strength of your brand is the same outside of a marketplace as inside a marketplace, that is wrong, because the marketplace dynamics is not the same. Just think about you walking into a real life market where you have sellers all over the place, right? Who cares about brand anymore? This is not about brand. This is about solicitation. This is about attention. This is about engagement. Yeah. And that is what a marketplace is all about. So therefore, if you come with a sort of a long-term approach, I will win this, I don't think that's going to work. What I've seen work on Amazon, I think it's the same for most of the marketplaces, is actually sort of a very old-fashioned, silly strategy of omnipresence, right? Be all over the place. Just be saturate the whole thing. Also for two reasons. One being you need to figure out how to get going. You need to get the pump started. That's one thing. And the other thing is, if you go very fast and very broad, you can very quickly start picking up signals, and you can see what's working, what's not working. And I think this is essential also because, so all the marketplaces probably work in a different way. They're all pretty much trying to copy what Amazon does. One of the things that Amazon does is it gives you the grace of having just started, right? So you get sort of this period where it doesn't have enough data to say you're good, you're bad. So basically, we consider you being good. Now, once that grace period is over, and if you don't have at least your 15 reviews, and if you don't have a decent conversion rate, and if you don't have maybe some external traffic, you're gonna drop down, and you're gonna move out of the organic visibility that can drive so much value. And therefore, you have that precious time where you need to run fast. Yeah, you need to
Exactly
get as big as you can, and then after that, you can build upon that. So I think in terms of obsolete strategies, it would be so two of them are, one is thinking that your brand will pull you through.
Yeah.
That one, I don't think so. The other one would be not moving fast enough, not trying everything, and sort of thinking, "Oh, we'll get there in the end." I think you need to go that really fast and really serious if you want to go. So there's a deficit of planning, a deficit of taking this seriously. You're not gonna. The one that I was saying is, don't go there to test and see if it's something for you. If you want to do something on the marketplace, go all the way. I think that's the only strategy that can pull you through. So
that's a very bold statement.
It works, and it's the same in a number of different digital advertising channels. I think it's the same for Facebook. I think on Facebook, if you go in too small and test whether it works, it's not going to work for you. If you go in massively and top line, is going to work for you, right? So I think there is a question of being bold. There is a question, like even paid search is like, if you start out with putting your bids too low, you're never going to take off. You got to start to you got to lose some money. You got to invest some money to put.
Tell me about it. I'm experiencing that now with Listen Network. So that makes a lot of sense. Okay, let's have a little fun, Anders. It's the dots rapid fire, where you're going to answer 3 questions, answer the truth and nothing but the truth. It's like a marketing cut of law. where you are not supposed to, you just say truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God, Are you ready?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good enough for me. Okay. First question. What is your best marketing KPI? And I don't want to hear revenue or sales. Yes, I have tracked it.
Are you ready for this? No, you're really
I'm ready.
ECPDP.
Okay, I am not ready for that. What's that?
Oh, it is the estimated cost per detailed product view. And this is like what it outside of marketplaces, this would be your landing rate, how many pages are being seen on your site from a marketing campaign. But in this case, it's how many of your product detailed product views, detailed product pages are being viewed. And it's one that I discovered it on Amazon, and it's a really good one because it helps you measure how good you are at driving people to your product. Not necessarily for sales. Sales is a different question, like
Well, of course.
but your marketing campaign is about driving people to that page, right? And it's not your homepage, it's not your website. Page. Yeah.
On Amazon. Now I'm just thinking about it. On Amazon, people find the product page first. And then there is, if you want to learn more, visit the, I don't know, Apple Store, and then you can go into their microsite. At the time, I remember when I was working on this, like we just had to do the microsite for, fulfilling all righteousness and things like that. But we know that the traffic really is on the product detail view. This may not necessarily be the same for the websites, this for another top. A lot of things are changing on the website these days. People are using wizards even to find products nowadays. You can go on the home page, your category pages and all. Stuff like that don't work on Amazon. Will you agree?
Yeah, I agree. No, it doesn't. I mean, that's Amazon. You're in a closed environment. You can only do what they allow you to do. But then they give you this kind of measure. I mean, is this specific thing you can extract it from all the reporting on Amazon. You can measure this, right? So you can look at your campaigns and look at, okay, what is the cost per detail for it, which makes a lot of sense for a marketing. So yeah, I think that's my favorite KPI these days. Yeah, I think so.
Yes, that is probably the most sophisticated KPI we've ever had on this podcast. So that's good. Yeah. Okay. On the backdrop of your recent LinkedIn awards, how long do you spend on social media every day?
So actually I commute a lot and I'm spending all that time on social media, and I think I'm concentrating that time on LinkedIn. I occasionally go on Twitter. I don't think I post anymore. I don't think I've tweeted since it became X.
Yeah,
But yeah. So maybe in total, and then I connect during the day. It's 1 to 2 hours, I think. And I don't watch TV, so I think
yeah. So it's not too bad. We don't have and this is not silver bullets, personal preference. I don't have network TV in my house. It's all on YouTube. Yeah, I have YouTube everything. I have YouTube, Netflix. I have YouTube, I have Netflix, I have YouTube Music, I have the YouTube Premium, and then I have the Netflix, and I have the Amazon Prime. So there's a lot of business expense there. Wink, wink.
Then it's part of the game, isn't it? It's part of it. Yeah, you have to know how that feels. Yeah.
I know. Last one. What is your favorite marketing or business quote? But if I get a marketing, that'll be a win.
No, but that's an easy one. You know nothing, Jon Snow.
Explain that to us.
See,
Brian is loving the truth. Yeah, I've seen a bit of it. I think I should see it. I've seen a lot of the series, the past. Somehow I missed Game of Thrones. I've seen 24, Prison Break, and all the other greats.
Game of Thrones is another world, right? And in this world, you have this surprise hero. He's an anti-hero, really. He's the bastard son of a fallen king, and he gets lost in the wilderness out there where there's only the weird people, and he falls in love with a wild girl, and he's in this totally different world where he doesn't know the rules. And he is the son of a king, and he's very powerful, and he has a sword, and he's all the thing. But this girl says to him most of the time, his name's Jon Snow, and she doesn't, you know nothing, Jon Snow. And why is this important? Because that is the key to being humble in the face of the changing world that we're living in, right?
So marketing, for example, yeah.
Yeah, it changes all the time. So basically, whenever you start a new campaign, whenever you look at a new channel, whenever you have a new brand, a new campaign, new network, basically just start with the fact that you know nothing. You know nothing, you have to learn it all. So don't take anything for granted. Learn it all as you go. I think that got, yeah.
It's a message to the CMOs out there who might be listening. You know, don't let your subordinates fool you. You need to learn what is going on there. You probably broke the record on the best quotes too as well, because I've not had any pop culture quotes, and because of you, I will see Game of Thrones.
It's mind blowing. Game of Thrones is mind blowing. It's fantastic. Yeah, love it.
Love it. Yeah, very, very fun. But you know, I have just one more question. I wish there was more. It's a very complex question. I found this on your profile and I thought, very interesting. And that is the retail media network. What does it mean? Here's it, number one.
Oh, yeah. So what happens here is that you have retailers, right? Retailers are typically in groups. They typically are part of a group that holds a number of retail brands. And their first reaction would be, okay, I will set up a marketing, advertising, sales house that covers all of my brands. This is all of my first party data that I would commercialize. I put it into a network, and I say, here's my DIY brand, here's my fashion brand, here's my grocery brand, and the same technology runs behind all of it. And maybe there's a loyalty card that goes across them as well. And this is my retail media network. Now, what's happening? The challenge of retail media is, as I said earlier, is in part a question of volume. You don't have enough volume, advertisers won't come in. They won't take the trouble of doing your tiny little retail media network in the corner there. So what's sometimes happening is that retail media networks take competitors and group them together. So you make an advertising network that goes across sometimes competing brands and competing verticals. So that is a retail media network, and typically it's run on a single platform with, for brands, a single entry into a bigger inventory where you can target same keywords or same types of users or whatever profiles you want. You can take your own audiences, you can find overlap audiences, you can target those, but across a certain level of inventory. I think this is the kind of response that is also needed to come up against Amazon. So a retail media network is it's typically a sales house with a grouping of retail media outlets that all run on the same technology. That's retail network.
That was interesting. I would like to explore that, you know, as we go and see how it goes. But guys, you heard it first on the Marketing Leadership Podcast. So that's interesting. I know we could go on and on here, but thank you so much for sharing great wisdom and sharing it in a very, very fun way. You even broken the if I were to give you another award on top of the Top Voices Award, that's the award for the top rapid fire responses of all time when the Marketing Leadership Podcast. So thank you so much. It's really awesome having you. Where can people find you and continue to see this awesomeness?
Oh, so whenever you learn to spell my last name, you could typically search for me on the internet and you'll find me. So I did tell you I was an old time SEO, right? So I kind of worked on that. You should be able to find me on LinkedIn. You should be able to basically on the internet. I have a website called Innoville, which was my former solo consultancy business. I've now moved into EPAM where I'm not as visible, but you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Innoville. So don't hesitate.
Interesting. Yes, please, guys, don't hesitate. If you want to see more nice episodes like this one, just go to dotslovesmarketing.com. And if you want to follow us through the podcast channels, of course, Spotify, Apple, and YouTube. I'd like to thank Content Allies and Descree for their support. And lastly, it's listennetwork.co. If you've got a podcast that is big and you want to make it bigger, we can do that for you. Till next time, connect the dots.
Thank you for listening to the Marketing Leadership Podcast, brought to you by Dots Loves Marketing. There will be links to any resources mentioned in today's show notes. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode.